Welcome to the last lecture of this course, Rating and Assessment Report. In this lecture, we will talk about assessment ratings and how those ratings can be consolidated and how we will transfer them to the assessment report. Before we start with explanation how we can rate some kind of the process of automotive spice, we want to discuss what is the need of having ratings on the project. First of all, most of the OEMs which are present in the automotive industry are basically requiring the assessments and they're requiring the ASPICE level 2 and 3 to be reached from their tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers. Then, in order to plan the timeline for reaching the level 2 internally in your company, you need to follow some kind of guidelines. By following those guidelines, you need to determine where you are in the project. It could be done through the internal assessments or rating process. Of course, the customer will perform second and third party assessment to check that project is reaching the quality milestones on your project. But internally, you should understand how these ratings are done. First of all, let's check what are the objectives, what are the indicators which will be assessed and rated. Maybe you remember, but I said that basically all the base practices and generic practices are only used as guidelines. You for sure need to meet outcomes of each process, and in order to reach them, you can use the generic practices and base practices. But we are not rating the generic and base practices. The only thing which is rated is process attribute. For achieving some rating of the process, you need to have all the attributes by some percentage, which is basically described here. There are four scores which you can have in the rating. The rating scale says that you're not achieving your process attribute if you're somewhere around 0 to 15%. It means that there is a little or no evidence of achieving the defined process attribute in the assessed process. It means that outcomes, achievements do not exist, or that it is impossible to judge what is the content of them. Then you have partially achieved. This is the second rating, which is coming from the 15 to 50 percentage. It means that there is some evidence of an approach to and some achievement of the defined process attribute in the assessed process. Some aspects of achievement of the process attribute may be unpredictable. It is the key word here, it is some aspects. Then we can say that some outcomes, achievements implemented, but a project business unit, maybe even organizational, the whole organization, still it is incapable of reaching quality in time or budget. Then we have next rating, a score. It is largely achieved. Largely achieved means that you will reach the percentage of 50 till 85%. There is evidence of a systematic approach and significant achievement of the defined process attribute in the assessed process. There are some weaknesses related to the process attribute which may exist in this assessed process. It means that you can have some weaknesses for sure, but you have significant achievement. But however, you cannot reach again you cannot reach the quality, time, and budget goals that are defined. Fully achieved means that you will reach the percentage of 85 till a full 100%. It means that you will then have evidences of complete and systematic approach to all of the processes which are basically assessed, and that there is no process risk with respect to the quality, time, budget, goals, and target identified. But you can still have some small weaknesses in the process. Some assessors are using additional ways to judge what is basically the score. Sometimes you can see that there are partially minus and partially plus scores. It means that they are just determined in between the half of the scale of the partially, for example, from 50 to 32.5% and from 32.5 till 50. The difference is that you have, when you are reading this sentence, is that you have many aspects of achievement of the process attribute may be unpredictable. And in the other one, which is plus, they say some of the aspects, only some of them may be unpredictable. In the same way, there are judgments for the largely and largely minus and largely plus, which means that in the same way, many weaknesses related to this process attribute may exist in the SAS process. But for other one with plus, it means that some of the weaknesses may exist. The same logic of the scale is applied here as it is applied in the partial achievement. Now let's check what are the possible capability levels while we are rating the separate PIs. For example, here in this table, you will see that having capability level 1 for some process means that, for example, in this level 1, you either need to have largely or fully for the process to be treated as the process on the level 1. In the same way, both PIs 2.1 and 2.2 in the level 2 can be scored as largely or fully, and the first level must be fully in order to reach level 2. The same logic is for the higher levels. In order to reach capability level 3, you need to be fully compliant to the all PIs which are previously checked. PI 1.1, PI 2.2, and PI 2.1. All of them must be fully, and you can be either largely or fully for the level 2 PIs. The same way you will treat level 4 and level 5. That means that some of the scores, when you are, for example, checking the full profile of the processes, some of the processes can have, for example, level 1, some of them will reach already level 2. And we will talk about the differences later on. How we are coming to those percentages? Basically, in order to see what are the numerical ratings of the assessors often use arithmetic mean. For the calculation, they are using the pattern that N is 0, P is 33, L is 66, and F is 100. It means that it is basically already the half of the scale for all of them. Let's check one example. We have, for example, monthly process. Of course, as I already said, base practices should not be rated, or we can rate them, but they are not the one which are the obligation to be rated. For example, best practice BP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 till 10 are rated with F or L or P or N. In BP1 and BP2, we have Fs. It means that we have 100%. BP3 is L. BP4 is also L. We have 2 times 66. Then BP5 is 33. BP6 is equal to the BP7, which is largely, and then BP8 and BP9, since they're somehow related, they're partially achieved. BP10 is not achieved. And when you then calculate the arithmetic mean of those numbers by just sum them and then divide them with the number of the BPs that you have, you will have the rating for the whole process month 3. It is 56.3. Well, when you check what is the scores of 56.3, it means that this process reached largely. Here are more examples. You can see that there is indicators like BPs and GPs for level 1 and for level 2, and that they're rated like LFFFF, and that the rating by using their averaging BPs is fully. For the level 2, we have largely and fully. And when you're now checking what will be the score for this process, if we imagine that this is the same process, what will be the capability level? I think it will be level 2 because we have the fully on the level 1 and we only have in one of the PIs of the level 2 largely, which is okay because we can say that whenever you have largely or fully in the level that you're assessing, you can have that level. It is good to know when it comes to rating of the whole process profile that by raising one of the ratings for some PI, you can reach higher level. For example, you can achieve instead of level 2 for sub 1, even level 2, if you try to implement some improvements on the PI 2.2. It means that when you're trying to incorporate some improvements in your project, you need to think about low-hanging fruits. It means that you should really target the easy actions which can be performed in a very, very short period of time. By just having some improvements on the PI 2.2, you will immediately have the rating for the quality assurance, in this example for the capability level 3. Let's now check what is that capability profile that I mentioned several times. For example, you have the set of processes which are part of the scope of the assessment, which are chosen to be under the assessments. Sometimes these are the processes which are part of the VDA scope. Sometimes they're chosen by auditor or your customer. For example, in this picture, we have 4 of them, and each of them has some rating. In this example, we have then 4 processes which has separate levels, 1, 2, 1, and 0. It means that this will form a capability profile. The profile for each of the processes will be called process profile. And for example, for the other process is another process profile. Even if we know that there is a possibility to calculate an arithmetic mean, assessors are not really using always this possibility. It is only the Ruth guideline for taking the ratings. Because as we already mentioned several times, BPs, GPs are not meant to be rated. They're just for having the checklist, what is important for your process. It means that uh, only process attributes have to be rated, and the scores can be given only based on objective evidences and objective judgments of the assessed context and situation and the actual concrete process risk that you can see. It means that basically the lead auditor is the one who can overrule the calculation of arithmetic mean. And now when we are talking about the ratings and from where they're coming from, we can say that the notes, which are basically the key of the ratings, must be taken very, very efficiently. It means that assistance in rating is drawn from objective evidences, from the GPs and BPs comprehension, from the practical technical knowledge and experience, from the common sense of assessors, from relevant industry standard practices and requirements, and what is currently done and what has to be done, but not really in the some kind of the future. And what should not be done while assessing and rating the process, it is that we should not have good or bad feelings about some ratings. We should not have some assumptions about ratings, and especially we should not rate something which is promised on the interview, like having the statement, yeah, we don't have it right now, but we will have it in the 2 months. This cannot give you the better rating in the assessment. In this slide, I wanted to summarize some basics which you can then take as your hints for taking the ASPICE journey on the project. On the basis of release plan and defined of the project milestones, we should plan quality milestones. We should define process owners on the project. Then we should train process owners or perform workshops with the quality department in order to explain what are the processes which they will own. Of course, we need to think about educating the team about their processes and overall ASPICE framework. And now you understand that the project manager who needs to plan all of those things must have some very good insight of automotive spice framework and what are the necessary things that a project needs to meet in order to reach the desired level of spice. Then you always need to start from the strategies and from objectives for all the processes. It means that you need to really write all the processes in the way that they have strategy and really objective, which can be measured. Then you need to derive metrics, criteria, and process indicators to measure those processes. You need to align all the strategies and make plans. You need to regularly manage the process, track all the gaps, and create corrective actions. You need to track metric strengths. And of course, on the end, you need to perform regular small internal assessment sessions for improvement and preparation for the real assessment. On this slide, I just wanted to give you the insights of how assessment report look like. For example, this is the real assessment report that I took, and these are the basic things which needs to be in the assessment report. First of all, you need to have all the information about the project and the organization. You need to have the formal information about the assessment. You need to have the scope of assessment explained in detail. That you need to have also participants listed and who is responsible for each part. You need to have all the constraints and when you are giving the ratings, you need to have the overview about assessment results. It means that you need to have the overview of the capability level ratings, of the process attribute ratings, and the overall project ratings. And then in the separate chapters, you need to give all the weaknesses and all the strengths and all the commands and possible improvements for all the processes that you rated. Every single process must be written, a rating for the process must be written in a way that there is evidence of weakness and there is evidence that some process will not reach fully in order to really explain how this process is implemented on the project. Here's the example of one of the processes from the assessment report. For example, we have here the change request management sub 10, and it is rated like a level 1. It is rated as level 1 because all base practices and outcomes are achieving only largely, and that they're satisfying the level 1. Partially achieving the generic practices and generic resources in PI 2.1 and partially in PA 2.2 and largely satisfying the level 1 is not enough for achieving the level 2 fully. It means that precondition for level 2 is firstly fully achieving PI 1.1 and then PI 2.1 and PI 2.2. Evidences are provided in the following tables. All weaknesses and recommendations are summarized in the table below. And you can see that basically all the levels that are assessed here are not reaching the fully. And we have only largely or partially achievement. And when you go in the evidences, you will see that for the each base practice or for the each generic practice, which is listed here and assessed in some rating, you have evidently given weaknesses in the evidence part. Here you can also see what is the process profile of this project. I also wanted to summarize that we have here only the need to rate the process attribute, the highest process attribute 2.2. It means that in this example, assessor was targeting capability level 2 only. Here are the some exercise insights which I'm giving you before we start with the exercise. After extracting the weaknesses that you found in the scenario that I gave to you in the previous exercise, now we want to rate the scenario and we want to derive the capability levels of this process. In the supplements, you have, of course, this scenario and you will have the rating table. The idea is that you can use all the materials which are given in the supplements, like this ASPICE, of course, ASPICE 3.1 standard, like, for example, book that I will attach in the supplements. And there you can find some relationships in between ratings. Of course, for this training, the relationships will be not important because this is something which is done in the already trained. It is done by already trained assessors. And for you, it is only necessary that you just understand what are the possible ratings of the process, not to really perform the assessor work.